HOA sent 8 bulldozers to level my yard. They didn't know the land was zoned for explosives testing. The rumble of engines shattered the peaceful morning air, and when I stepped out onto my porch, my heart nearly stopped. 8 massive bulldozers, painted in bright HOA contractor yellow, were lined up on my property like tanks preparing for war. The men in hard hats didn't even glance my way. They were too busy revving their machines, waiting for the signal to begin tearing down everything I'd built over the last 10 years. I could feel my blood boiling. This wasn't just a yard. It was my home, my peace, my late wife's favorite place in the world. The garden we planted together, the hand-built deck where we'd spent countless sunsets, the small pond where her ashes were scattered, all of it stood in the path of those roaring beasts. I rushed down the gravel path, waving my arms. "Hey, what do you think you're doing?" I shouted, my voice barely rising over the engines. A tall man in an orange vest stepped forward, clipboard in hand. "Mr. Howard, right? We've got an order from the Homeowners Association. Your landscaping violates uniform property appearance standards. We're here to level the lot for regrading." I laughed, but it wasn't from amusement. It was disbelief. "You can't just show up and destroy my land. I've appealed that order." "Your appeal was denied," he said flatly. "You should have received notice." I stared at him, my hands trembling with anger. "Oh, I received it," I said quietly. "But I also know something you don't." He raised an eyebrow, unconcerned. "And what's that?" I took a deep breath, looked around at the 8 bulldozers, and said calmly, "This land is zoned for explosives testing. You're standing on a live-range safety perimeter that got his attention." The workers stopped what they were doing, the engines rumbling into uneasy silence. I saw confusion flicker across their faces as they exchanged nervous glances. The foreman blinked, clearly unsure whether to believe me. "You're joking, right?" I reached into my jacket and pulled out a laminated document, the one I'd kept since the day I bought this place. "No joke," I said, handing it to him. "This property used to belong to the state research facility before I bought it. Still carries the classification, means no unauthorized digging, blasting, or ground disturbance. Ever." He scanned the page, his face paling with every line he read. Behind him, one of the younger workers asked, "Wait, so if we'd started—" "You might have triggered something buried underneath," I finished for him. "Old test ordinances, chemical sensors, maybe even live charges. They've all been sealed, but better safe than sorry." The foreman immediately barked an order. "Everyone shut down the engines. Step away from the vehicles." Within seconds, the once bustling scene turned into chaos. Workers scrambled off the machines, some backing away toward the street, others making frantic phone calls. I stood there watching, my heart still pounding, a mix of anger and grim satisfaction twisting in my chest. I hadn't lied. The land was technically zoned for explosive testing decades ago, and while it had been cleared long before I bought it, the zoning code was never updated. The HOA had overstepped big time, and now they were in deep trouble. Within the hour, police cars, fire trucks, and even a hazmat response team arrived. Sirens blared, red and blue lights flashing against the early morning fog. The HOA president, a woman named Karen, yes, literally, arrived in her pristine SUV, heels clicking on the pavement like she owned the world. "Mr. Howard," she snapped, storming toward me. "What have you done? You've made a scene out of nothing." I crossed my arms. "You sent 8 bulldozers onto restricted property without permission. That's a federal safety violation." Her face twisted. "This is absurd. We had every right to—" "You had no right," I interrupted. "You don't own this land. You don't maintain it, and you certainly don't control it. You just tried to bulldoze a potentially hazardous testing site." That's when the county inspector approached, holding a clipboard of his own. "Ma'am Isharam," he said, addressing the HOA president, "we've verified Mr. Howard's claim. This area is still zoned as a restricted test zone. Any unauthorized construction here can result in fines and criminal liability." Karen's mouth fell open. "Criminal? What?" "We didn't know." "Maybe you should have checked before trying to destroy someone's property," I said. She turned on me, seething. "You think this little stunt will stop us? You'll still have to comply with HOA standards." I smiled faintly. "Actually, no. You see, HOA jurisdiction doesn't extend to federally zoned land. My property was grandfathered in before your development existed. You've been trying to regulate something you never had authority over. It took everything in me not to laugh at the expression on her face. Within days, the story made local headlines. HOA accidentally sends bulldozers into restricted explosives zone. Reporters camped near my driveway. Neighbors whispered in disbelief, and the HOA board scrambled to save face. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted peace and justice for all the times they'd harassed me for not trimming my trees to their liking or painting my porch off-tone. The county fined the HOA heavily for negligence, and the contractor filed a lawsuit for being misled about the work order. Eventually, Karen resigned in disgrace, and the HOA quietly rewrote its bylaws to prevent similar overreach. As for me, I rebuilt my garden, planted new flowers, fixed the pond, and set up a small wooden sign by the fence that read, "Warning, explosive beauty ahead." Every time I see it, I smile, because it reminds me that sometimes standing your ground means letting the truth do the detonating. And the message I want people to remember? Don't let anyone bulldoze your peace. Some battles are won not with rage, but with knowing your rights, your worth, and the power of standing firm when everyone else tries to tear you down.